What's up, Dolphins? Travis Wingfield here, the host of the Drive Time podcast on the Miami Dolphins Podcast Network, and I'm joined today by new Dolphins running back, Sony Michel. Sony, welcome in, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you down here. So, has it hit you yet, the fact that you're back home where it all began?
I think it's kind of setting in now. I'm in week 2, getting acclimated with everything, getting into a routine, so it's going good so far.
So I saw you wearing the number 34. I grew up a diehard Dolphins fan. My favorite player of all time is Ricky Williams. Is that a coincidence, or did you pick that number for a reason?
I didn't pick that number. I'll say it was one of the numbers. I initially picked it, but there was only like 4 numbers available for me, so knowing the history behind the number, I picked it, to kind of set the bar high.
I think it's a good-looking aesthetic. Like 34 and a running back, what's better than that? There's so many legendary backs that wore 34. So aside from the homecoming here, obviously coming back, a former American Heritage product, what attracted you to come to the Miami Dolphins and play your ball here?
Seeing the foundation that they're trying to build. The players they had coming in, the players that was here already, seeing these guys work, playing against them, knowing what they're about. And, coming here to try to be a part of it, to try to do something special, was something I had in mind.
Was part of that the coaching staff and Coach McDaniel and getting to know those guys a little bit?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Knowing him, knowing a little bit about his background, the schemes he run, the way his players talk about him. So knowing a little bit.
I like that he brought you, Raheem, and Chase up here from the NFC West. I guess guys that were close in his backyard there, right?
Yeah.
he knows what he's got there. So also running backs coach Eric Studesville has been in this business for a long time, been here for a long time. How excited are you to work with him and kind of absorb some of that wisdom that he can offer you?
Oh, man, I'm excited. Knowing a little bit about his background, knowing, some of the backs that he's coached, some of the wisdom that he can shed on the room, on me. I like to, pick his brain a little bit so I can add to my game. So it's been pretty cool so far.
He's coached a bunch of really good backs. And, we talk about you coming here to Miami. What would you say the Dolphins are getting in Sony Michel as a player?
Man, they're getting, I would say me being me, a high character guy, a guy that's going to come in, put the team first and just work hard.
I touched on your teammates here in the backfield a little bit. We also got to add Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed, Jared Dokes, and the whole crew. What do you think the Dolphins have here in the stable with those guys, adding you and Raheem as well as Chase?
That was one of the reasons why I came, knowing that they had an elite group of backs. All these guys are starters, potential starters. And coming here, I knew that iron sharpens iron. If I want to be the best version of myself, I got to compete against the best. So that kind of helped made the decision. I've
heard that phrase a lot on this team this year. Iron sharpens iron. So I'm looking forward to that. In your opinion, what makes what creates a really quality, not running back by committee, but you mentioned having so many guys that are capable. What's the key to having that all kind of click together and working together?
Ultimately you're on the same team. Number one, you want to compete, and then being the biggest fans for rooting for the guys that's in the same room. Wanting them to succeed, wanting the best for themselves, and ultimately, building a bond. And once that bond is created, it kind of set the bar high, and everybody kind of understands the standard, and that's what carries us through the season.
Yeah, that's a great answer. You talk about those guys being in that room together. You've been here for 2 weeks now. You mentioned, has there been some competition, some good camaraderie building in that room?
I would say right now just more bonding, getting to know each other, getting around the guys, and doing little stuff.
You talked about Coach McDaniel a little bit earlier. What about the system that his staff and him have been installing here? Are you pretty excited about what's to come here with the running game in Miami?
Definitely. I know, they're big on explosive plays. We have explosive guys on the outside, and they're committed to running the football.
Can't ask more than that, right? That's exactly right. So I talked to you a little bit about my favorite college football playoff game of all time that you played in at Georgia there against Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl a few years back. You've been on 2 Super Bowl teams, the college football playoffs, the national championship game. What have you learned throughout the course of your career to kind of, or I guess, what can those experiences and those big time games kind of teach you about being a pro and how you can kind of impart that wisdom on the rest of the guys here?
It's all about sticking to the process, and part of the process is, all the different phases. I missed phase 1. I came towards the end of phase 2, and now I'm in OTAs and, creating those habits so we can, go into the season with good habits. Hopefully, putting my head down, working, and me being the leader, one of the leaders in the group that, guys can watch and hopefully they can follow, I can follow, I can learn from them. We can pick each other's brains. And I think that's the most important part is, sticking to the process, learning from it, and kind of building that core foundation so we can carry through the season.
You talk a little bit about work ethic and just putting in the work that's required this time of year to be productive come September. And going back to your college days, I read some testimonials from a pair of your former college and then Patriots teammates, and David Andrews and Isaiah Wynn, and they both really praised the way you work and the way you go about things. Where does that come from? Like, where does the way you learn how to be such a pro, where did that come from for you?
I would say, the foundation that my parents built. It started inside the house. Working hard for whatever you want. Understanding where my parents come from. They came from Haiti. They were immigrants that came over, dropped everything, and they had to start from scratch. They had to work for everything that they wanted. And me seeing a little bit of that because I was so young, I feel like I grasped some of that energy, some of that, information that was going on around me and kind of applied it to, the different levels that I played on, whether it's little league, high school, to college, and now in the pros of, trusting the process and not really trying to cheat it.
Learn pretty quickly how to work under your parents growing up a little bit. I mean, that's the stuff I read about, was just how even in high school you were a big time prospective at American Heritage. They're a legendary school here, but they always went back to the way you work. So just the way you kind of came up was what started all that, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Makes the most sense. So also did some research on your Instagram, and I saw you just celebrated, was it your daughter's 3rd birthday?
My daughter's 3rd birthday.
Okay, so I've got a little princess back at home myself. Her 2nd birthday is on Saturday, and I'm going to tell you right now, the tantrum stage has hit us. And I was just curious if you had any advice for how to deal with these meltdowns that come up every couple of hours, it seems like, for me.
No advice, because I'm learning as it go. So I can't act like I know. I just try to be there for them. Just try to, make them as comfortable as possible. Hopefully, teach a little bit, the little that I know. Try to teach, and then, just watch them grow. That's all you can do.
Yeah, it's the best, man. It's the hardest thing, but also the best thing at the same time. It's funny how that works. A couple more questions for you here. We got Melvin Ingram coming in next to the podcast here. And I know he's pretty musically inclined. I was told you are a little bit as well. What do you got in the hopper for music coming up here?
I retired.
Okay.
So I was an ex-rapper. I retired. I kind of put the music to the side, or more of, diving deep into some of my favorite artists, and kind of just using that to, keep me in the right headspace.
So no collaborations with you and Melvin, and Teron Armstead also raps a little bit too. No collabs?
Those boys are good, man. I don't know if I'm as good as those guys.
No problem. Last question for you here, Sony. What are you looking forward to most about your return here to South Florida? Whether it's football, away from the field, what are you most excited about here, about coming back getting
I'm excited, to getting the opportunity to compete, try to make the team, and winning some football games.
Can't take more than that. Sony Michel, new Dolphins running back. Appreciate your time today, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.